everybody. As Simon was saying, we're going to talk about AI in Power BI. And let me tell you a little bit about myself first, just so you're familiar. And as they were saying, I'm a business intelligence and analytics specialist at the University of Central Florida. We love our football team, Go Knights. I have a bachelor's degree in management and a master's degree in communication. Right now, I have 10 years of experience. I began my career, I was working for a small startup business in 2010, and I first started working in T-SQL, which I really love, still love it, and I really like data warehousing. My new thing, as you can tell, is artificial intelligence. I love Power BI and business intelligence strategy. So all in all, I just love data. Certifications. I have my certification in Power BI, which is a data analyst associate, and I'm also certified in AI fundamentals, which I'm going to be speaking to you about today. And I am the leader of the Orlando Power BI user group. Our meetings are still virtual, so if you would like to attend, just go to meetup.com and put a search for Orlando Power BI user group, or you can actually go to the Microsoft community site, go to user group, and you can find us there as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing you. Okay, so how can you connect with me? Please feel free, if you have any questions and you just don't want to say it, publicly, please feel free to write me or connect with me on Twitter at ITDataDiva, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn, similar name, ITDataDiva there as well. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you. All right, so let's just talk about the agenda today. First, I just want to go over some, I would say, informative stuff that kind of gives you an idea of what AI Insights is, so you can understand, and then we'll get into the fun stuff, the demos. I know everyone loves the demos, but I first want to cover some introductory stuff just so you can understand how this all fits into the picture. All right, so let's just talk about that. We're going to list the elements of artificial intelligence, and then I'm going to define AI Insights with you. We're going to discuss the 3 AI Insights in Power Query. We'll define some functions. We'll do the demo of sentiment analysis, which I know everybody loves. I've done this presentation 2 times so far, and it's a very popular thing. And then we'll go over a review of what we discussed today, and then we'll have some Q&A. All right. So let's just discuss some of the artificial intelligence elements, okay? We've got, first let me list them and then I'll just discuss them. We have machine learning, anomaly detection, natural language processing, which is also known as NLP for the acronym. We have computer vision and conversational AI. Machine learning, what is that? It's basically using algorithms to teach a model to make better decisions from data. So it will improve after experience and it'll learn from its mistakes. There are 3 types of machine learning you should know about. It's supervised, unsupervised, and reinforcement learning. And that's all you need to know for now. If you wanted to look into that further, feel free to do a Google search. The next one is anomaly detection. This is a pretty popular one. I think is really easy to understand. It just identifies atypical patterns in data. Example, think about credit card fraud. Someone's using your credit card. For instance, me, I'm living in Florida. If I get, a ring that someone in another state is using it to fill up gas, that's kind of an anomaly because I haven't been driving much anywhere. The next is natural language processing. And this is basically where the computer has the ability to understand written and spoken language. And the next one is computer vision. And this is basically the computer has the ability to see and understand pictures and videos, and which it processes. And the next one is conversational AI. And that is pretty much, I'm sure most people have an idea what this is. It's a software agent, a bot, which can engage in a conversation. So let's dig a little deeper now into machine learning. Here are some of the features. We have automated machine learning. We have Azure Machine Learning Designer, data and compute management, and pipelines. Don't worry about the last 2 too much. Just kind of focus right now on automated machine learning and Azure Machine Learning Designer. Automated machine learning pretty much enables non-experts to quickly create an effective machine learning model from data. You will see this in Power BI. And the next one is Azure Machine Learning Designer. This is pretty much a graphical interface which enables no-code development of ML solutions. I really like the Azure Machine Learning Designer. I've been playing with that a lot. And don't worry too much about, like I was saying, about data and compute and pipelines. Data and compute is basically just a cloud-based storage and compute resources that professional data scientists can use to run data experiments, code at scale. And pipelines is where data scientists, engineers can define them to orchestrate model training, deployment, and management tasks. All right, so now that we discussed machine learning features, let's just discuss computer vision services. And I know this one is kind of playing this screen compared to the other ones, so I apologize. First thing I'm going to speak about is computer vision services. And computer vision is basically used to analyze images and video to extract descriptions, tags, objects, and text. Basically, they're seeing the world and it's making sense of it. The next is computer vision, and custom vision. And this one is, I really liked this one. I found this one really interesting. You use this service to train custom images, classification, detection models, using your own images. So you basically, if you want to take, for instance, you're running a grocery store and you want the computer to recognize apples and bananas, you kind of stick a picture in there and put apple and banana and it will recognize it for you. It's really cool. If you have any time to play with it, you can go to the Azure labs and they have some fun stuff in there. The next is face, and I know this is a real popular one and most people can guess just from the name. Face service, which enables you to build face detection and facial recognition solutions. It could basically recognize your face, and I think it can even name your face if you train it that way. And the next is form recognizer, which you won't have to worry about these in Power BI, but this is basically used to extract information from scanned forms and invoices. It's actually really neat. All right, so we just listed some computer vision services. So now I'm just going to move over to what we'll be focusing on, which is natural language processing. And as I said, the acronym is NLP. There's 4 basically considered in here. It's speech, which is used to recognize and synthesize speech, used to translate spoken languages. And then we have language understanding intelligence service. You train a language model can understand spoken or text-based commands. You have translator text. It can do, I think, between more than 60 languages. And then you have text analytics, which is the big one. To me, I feel is a big deal. It's giving a demo of this service to analyze text documents, extract key phrases, detect entities, such as dates and peoples, and can evaluate sentiment, which is what we will be talking about today. Basically how positive or negative the sentiment is. All right, so we discussed natural language processing. Now I want to talk about the 6 principles for responsible AI. You may be thinking, why is she bringing this up? This is very important for Microsoft. When I was earning my certification, it was definitely had a decent amount of questions on it, and I can see where they're coming from. So I do want to review this with everybody, and I'll kind of give you a little short story about what happened in my organization with the data modeling. So we have privacy and security, accountability, reliability and safety, transparency, inclusiveness, and fairness. For privacy and security, you want to increase reliability on the data needs to keep that data source secure. You want to make sure that the data is not leaked. And then you want to have accountability. Designers and developers should work within a framework of governance and principles to ensure that the solution meets ethical and legal standards. Then you have reliability and safety. This is very important. It has ideas and values and principles. You don't want to create harm. You should reduce risks to human life. Think here, driving cars, self-driving cars, right? You have robots driving them. You want these to be safe. You don't want to hear about accidents. So that's a very important one there. Transparency is something that I feel is another very, very important one. You should be open to how and why, what's going on behind the scenes. How's this data modeling coming up with this? That's very important to know, because if you don't know, then you can't understand, and it's kind of creates like a black box, right? Inclusiveness, AI systems should empower and engage people. And then, of course, fairness. You want to reduce fairness, any kind of stereotypes. You want greater diversity of people deploying these AI systems, and it should be fair for everyone, like I said. And transparency is very important. I was using sentiment analysis a while back ago, and my supervisor didn't know too much about it. And they want to use sentiment analysis to hold our employees possibly responsible for bad service. But the only thing is, right now, sentiment analysis, as you will see, is not 100% accurate. And you don't really want to rely on people's jobs with this sentiment analysis. It's not 100% reliable. So that's something really to look at. And, I had to go back and really show them how the algorithms were going, so we wouldn't possibly hurt anybody. So that's just another important thing to know. So the next is about AI Insights. So it was released in June 2020. So it's been around for about a year. Before, it was in a preview feature, so some of you may have seen it before then. It's used to gain access to a collection of pre-trained machine learning models. You could think of cognitive services, right? So as you see in my next image, text analytics, right? Cognitive services. And then we have vision, which is cognitive services. And then we have Azure machine learning, which is invoked by Azure machine learning functions, the model. So someone would actually in Azure create that machine learning model and then share it with you. Okay. So you may be thinking, how do you access these features? Well, first off, you must have premium. All nodes and A3, EM3 and above are premium per user, which recently just came out. And for those of you who don't know, pretty much you can get a subscription on a user level. And if you already have the Pro, you're just going to be spending an extra $10. For those who don't, it's extra $20 a month, and you can play with some of the AI features there, which is really awesome. And then in Azure, we have a cognitive services endpoint and key. And also, you have to access Azure machine learning models. It's available to all users. So Azure, if you only have Pro, you can actually use cognitive services, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So let's talk about a little table that I created, what I've just discussed with you. We have a few plans, which are premium per user, and Pro, as I was saying. And I just listed, do you have access to cognitive services, right? With premium, yes, you do. You pay for that in your subscription. Premium per user, you do as well. And Pro, you don't have any usage of that. However, there is a workaround, which I was telling you. You can see here, my tip, you will need a key and an endpoint from Azure. Over here for premium, a tip, the AI workload needs to be enabled for premium. So that's important to remember. All right, so let's talk about the AI Insight buttons. Where are they? Well, they are in Power Query. And if you go to the Add Column tab, you can see over to your right, AI Insights. We have Text Analytics, Vision, and Azure Machine Learning. Then below, you can find it on the other tab, which is the Home tab. And that is kind of listed vertically, which is Text Analytics, Vision, and Azure Machine Learning. So that is where you can find them in 2 spots, which I think is awesome. Next, exactly, what is text analytic function? So let's look at this a little deeper. Okay, language detection returns the name and the ISO identifier. For example, Spanish is ES or English is EN. We won't really be going over that today, though. Then we have key phrase extraction. This is actually one of my favorites, and I'll show you this in my demo. It pretty much evaluates unstructured text and returns a list of key phrases. It's really neat when you see it. And then you have sentiment scoring. And as I was saying earlier, it returns positive or negative sentiment in social media, customer reviews, and forums. The scores are between 0 and 1, and 5 is in the middle, neutral. Okay, so now that we discussed text analytics function, let's just briefly talk about custom vision function. So basically, the computer vision function, tags images. It has output tags for more than 2,000 recognizable objects. Some examples are human, scenery, and actions. All right, so now I want to kind of discuss the Azure machine learning model. You must have, as I was saying before, you must have read access to your Azure subscription. And I provided the link for you to read about these roles in case you're not familiar with them. And that's all for about Azure machine learning models. Let's move over to sentiment analysis. Okay, as I was saying, it's an area of AI. And it returns a score. So where can you get a score from? Social media, right? Facebook or Instagram. You can get it from customer reviews, or you can even get it from discussion forums. So there's many places where you can do the sentiment analysis. So I think on time, how am I doing on time? Is it 4:15? I think I have to stop. All right. So let me see if I can take a demo. I may have to share the screen again, but I actually may run past this part. Okay, so let's go to the Azure portal. If I have some time, we'll go back to that later. I didn't want to share my account because there's some personal stuff here. So what I did do was take some screenshots. You want to make sure, first off, that you have an account. And if you don't, you can go to azuremicrosoft.com. US, I think you may have to change the link if you're in another country, and then just go to free. You create your resource, or you can look for cognitive services. So let's just see. Let's just click over here to Azure portal example. Okay, and as I was saying, you can select create, and you will see text analytics. And over here, here's create. So there's a few ways of going to it. And then once you're here, you're going to want to add the following information. You're going to want to add your subscription, your resource group, your region, and just be careful with the region because I know once you pick it, if you have to change it again afterwards, there may be a cost incurred with it. Your name, and then of course your pricing tier. So you will have to have that all set up. Now, what will you need once you create your resource? The two important things you're going to need is your endpoint, which is the HTTP address at which your service is hosted. And then you're going to need a key, which is secret value used by client applications to authenticate themselves. And please, once you get your endpoint and key, please keep it a secret. You don't want to share it publicly, otherwise you'll be charged for whoever uses your service. All right, so you may be thinking, okay, well, once I get this set up, where can I test data? Where can I find data for sentiment analysis or any of the AI cognitive services? Well, you can go to, my favorite is Kaggle, and you can use this website to find and publish data sets. They have some great ones at kaggle.com. Or you can go to UCI, and that's another machine learning repository that data scientists or analysts can use of machine learning algorithms. I think they have about 588 data sets available for use, and I provided the link here. I suggest Kaggle, though. I really liked it. The other UCI is good too, but Kaggle was one of my favorites. All right, so let's do the demo. So I'm going to briefly switch screens. So I think I have to stop sharing real quick. And then I am going to go over to Power BI. Let me just grab that. All right. And I'm going to share my screen. Share screen. Okay, great. Okay, so let me just remove this. I just want to view these files later. Okay. All right, let's open up Power Query. And can everyone see my screen, the Power Query? I know I'm switching. Okay, great. Don't pay attention to this error right now. I'm off my connection to my computer, so I don't have any VPN. That's the only reason why you're seeing that, but we don't need to see any of the data right now. What you just need to know is what to do. So the first thing I want to point out is, please remember, to clean your data. That's one very important thing. If you have any blanks, it's not going to work. Your call won't work. So just make sure there's no blanks in your data. I usually like to create another table. That's one of the things I prefer to do, and just make sure that you have a unique identifier. And then, of course, you have your text, excuse me. So you're going to want to create a custom function first. And let's open, I think I have, actually, let's go over to, I want to show you first, because I can't open this and I don't want to switch back my screen. So let me close this and we'll actually just look. Okay, and I'm going to show you this first, and then we'll go back and look at the custom function, since I don't want to switch in and out. But what you need to know is you need to create a custom function, which will integrate Power BI and the text analytics. And then the function is going to review the text as a parameter, and then it's going to parse the response from the API and then return a string that contains a comma-separated list. So then you're going to go to new source, select the bank query, you're going to go to events editor, and you're just going to put in the code that we talked about. So let's look at what I had actually downloaded. So this is sentiment analysis, and I downloaded some data from Universal Studios. And we can see over here, when I ran this, we have positive sentiment, neutral sentiment, and negative sentiment. And if you look over, this actually will total 1 to, once you total all these, so 0.95, 0.5, and then 0, which equals 1. The index over here is just my unique identifier, and then these are the comments. You can see some people are frustrated with Universal. You see Universal's a complete disaster, stick with Disney. We went to Universal over Memorial Day weekend. It was a total train wreck. We waited to get in the parking lot for about 40 minutes. We paid for prime parking to make up for all the wasted time. So you can see someone is very upset. What's the sentiment? 0.95. It's pretty right. They're not happy. So let's see over here. Food is hard to get. The food service is horrible. I'm not reviewing the food. It's the wait time, 45-minute minimum to get the one cashier working at each place. It ruins the whole experience. So that's a 0.76. So you can see, who is upset. And I find some of these are actually pretty accurate. Let's look for one that's someone's happy. It says there's Disney, then there's Universal Orlando. This has been a long time coming. I've really been coming to this park since I was a child. After growing up and moving to Florida, even working here for a year and being annual pass holder, I can say I love this park. So they're pretty right with this. Sentiment negative is very low. Positive is 0.92 and 0.7. So I might be seeing something else in there that makes it kind of towards the neutral, but it's mostly positive. But you can kind of see here when people get upset, they'll mention Disney. Go to Disney instead. So let's look at the report. Over here is just a little bar chart that I did with the sentiment, and you can see kind of on the days, who had most of what. And then over here, if you kind of want to click, let's say we want to do neutral, you can kind of get an idea here, and then we can click here for positive. And we can kind of play with this. This was really informative and very helpful. And the next one I wanted to look at was key phrases. And what this does is it actually picks out the most important words it feels in the sentences. So this one, I just, took the positive reviews and to kind of see the comments that come in the positive reviews. And I find this really neat. You can see when people are happy, it's the Universal. What really attracts people is Harry Potter. People love Harry Potter. I think it's the biggest attraction to Universal Studios. Fun, family, vacation, parks. And, if you click here, you can see the comments. Universal Florida, great price, great experience. So now you may be wondering, okay, what are the key phrases for negative? Well, when we click over here, we can see, let's click here, rides. They complain about the wait. And I can tell you, since I live in Orlando and I am an annual pass holder, when you do these parks, you really got to do your research and you got to strategize. And I recommend going early in the morning, going home, taking a break, taking a nap, and then coming back in the evening, because it gets very busy towards, those prime hours. And then it slows down again in the evening. And I can tell you, if you go to Florida in July or August or June, it's hot and it's crowded and you're not going to be happy. And that's where you're going to see, a lot of these reviews. is rides, which is completely right. Those lines could be very, very long. And you can see people kind of complain about it over here. This is not a vacation works experience I've ever had. Rides are outdated. Whole place smells like vomit. It doesn't. Also very rude yeller workers. And the interesting part is if you click over here, you can see that most people will say, go to Disney. Disney's better. They need to take lessons from Disney. So you can see here that there was about 11 people who, when they're mad at Universal, mention Disney. Disney would never do something like this. Hard customer service. So you can see people are very angry, and Disney seems to be their thing to mention when they're upset. Another thing that they mention is service, and also mentions tickets and the line. And I was telling you have to kind of strategize for that. And let's see if there's anything else that, let's see, PAR is kind of small, so it's probably not one on that. PAR customer service. They do mention Harry Potter, but there's not too many of that, about 5. So anyway, that's kind of the key phrase elements, which I think are really, really fun, really cool. I really like the word cloud that I created. By the way, that's the visual that you'll have to get in the App Store. And you just search for word cloud and it comes right up. And I think it's a lot of fun to play with. I also think the sentiment analysis is there's a lot of things you can do here. And this tends to be a big favorite for people. All right, so now I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm kind of going to go back over to my presentation. Let me pull that up. All right. Share. PowerPoint. Okay, so we covered our demo. So let me switch over. We spoke about transforming data and creating a function. Okay, here is the sample that I wanted to show you, but I didn't want to switch back and forth. You can also find this online, but this is the endpoints and key that you will need. And of course, you can see that I left it blank. Don't worry about the PINU mining tree here. That was something I was just experimenting with. I was trying to get to work. You don't have to just include that. But as long as you have that your API and then your endpoint, you're good. You can run this. And you can find this online also. You could Google cognitive services and the Microsoft documents, you can find it. Okay, we discussed that. We discussed the custom function. Okay, and as I was saying about sentiment analysis, about the AI rules, transparency, you don't want to make big decisions off of sentiment analysis. That's very important. You want to consider other scenarios outside of the product and service review domain, so other things that have gone on, and just be careful of the filters or removing content. Another thing I wanted to show you is just this table I've been creating. I'm going to share it probably in the Microsoft community soon. I've created a table with text analytics and where you can go and all the links. I also have created some cognitive services for Azure, which I think is really neat too. It gives you all the links of where you can go. It talks about what are Azure cognitive services, what's new in cognitive services, and then the Azure cognitive service blog. So I have a few things here that you can go to. I'm going to publish these all eventually. I just haven't gotten time to dig around to. I've been really busy. And the last one, which I think is most relevant right now to this presentation, is just some links I found for Power BI using AI. So I have a few things. Sentiment analysis and opinion mining, I have a link there. Azure Cognitive Services, support and help options. I also have user scenarios for the text analytics API as well. All right, so let's just talk about a review. So we've listed the elements of artificial intelligence. We defined AI insights. We also discussed the three AI insights in Power Query. We also defined the functions. We did a demo of sentiment analysis. We had a review, and now we also have some time for QA, where we can go over some things.